you beautiful souls out there in my social media family. How are you doing today? My name is Chris, and I'm here to help you find your happiness. In today's video, I have a very, very special guest. It's someone that I've known for well over 30 years. This is Temo Uribe, and we went to high school together back in Coronado, and this is the first time that I've ever had the chance to interview a celebrity.
Thank you,
so, really excited about this. Temo's been doing music for a really long time, and I'm just really excited to be able to be here with him today. And so we're gonna ask him some questions, and he's gonna share some messages of like positivity and things like that he's gone through. And so let's get to it. So, first question that I want to ask you about is STEELTOE.
Okay.
Right. So, what brought about the name? What does it mean? Like.
Right. Well, the whole STEELTOE thing came about. We were actually on the phone. One of my first guitarists, Steve, and we're on the phone with management of Brick by Brick.
Right.
I think we're gonna do a show with Sprung Monkey, and it was our second show, and we really didn't have a name, to be honest with you. And but I do remember we're on the phone trying to debate a little bit. What's a name? What's a name? Because they're on the other line. They need it right now.
Right.
So we're going back and forth. And the one thing that did stand out, it just took me there real quick, is wars, steel-toe boots. When you go to prison, steel-toe boots. It's just a hardcore name. It's for the shit kicking. And that's
So for those of you that haven't heard your music before, can you just tell us a little bit? Because I know that we have some specific questions, but I think that it's really important for people to really understand, like, the steel toe, right? It's like a shit kicker, like you're saying, right? But I think that also has a lot of that's influenced by your music.
Correct.
And so if you could just tell the people, like the audience out here, like a little bit about the music, like what is it that, like, what are your biggest influences? Like what brought about the whole. Right.
Well, I was in a dark place one time in my life, and the only thing I had to do there was either get crazy or get wiser, and I buried my head in books, and I saw the unjust that I saw and felt, my unrest of my experience, my inner turmoil. And it was just a release for me, man. It was a release of going crazy or doing some other whacked out stuff. So I buried my head in the books, documentaries, and I just pretty much felt like a journalist, if you will. Seeing what's going on around the country, our community, and how we could make it better. And not only that, but telling the stories, not only of our personal lives, but of what we see abroad.
So would you say that the biggest influences for your music are your personal experiences with what's happening in the world? Is that pretty much like, or would you say, like, is there like, because some of your music is a little bit political, right? But it's awesome. Like the messages that you send through are like from the heart, right? On what you're feeling about that. So would you say that it's more so your opinions on what's happening in the world, or being based off of your experiences that are happening, or is it like specific political people or specific?
The writing process, pretty much. I guess a lot of us artists, it just kind of they're waves of inspirations, I guess.
Right.
Before you got here, I was writing a song, and it just came out of nowhere. I just feel the vibe, man. It goes in me, and I gotta take it back out and tell a story. And with that story, I try and keep a positive objective with the song, but sometimes they're just too harsh and too strong, but sometimes that's what it takes to express yourself if you're doing it in the right way.
Now, how would you say that kind of, have you gotten some backlash from things like that in the past?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of bad publicity here and there, but any publicity is good publicity.
I agree with that.
And like Marilyn Manson says, hey, if I'm getting under your skin, then I'm doing my job. But you gotta turn everything into a positive. My father tells me, if you're gonna get in the ring and start fighting, expect to get hit. So sometimes those hits and the tragedies and our hardships are steel-toe gear to get back in, lace up. Let's face the problem. And let's go through it.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about the band. Like, how many band members are there? How many bandmates have you had in the past? Are you guys pretty much the same group that you've had from the beginning, or like what's changed?
Well, I got out here and I got with this gentleman, Steve, and with him and a gentleman that still drums with me now, Todd Woolsey, and we just started practicing little by little, and then Chris Moody came in. He was a bass player, and as a lot of bands go through changes.
Right.
Then came a dear friend of mine, Mauricio Navarro,
Okay.
which is a very gifted bass player, and the guy who does most of our videos. And we also have now, I had a Dave Patton, a great friend of mine still, and and right now I have Fernando as a guitar player, and Chris Red for a bass player. So I have gone through quite a bit of musicians, but everyone's got their life,
Right.
and you just gotta keep going forward no matter what.
Right. And so that's kind of one of the things that I kind of want to discuss right now, because I think it's a good way to a good segue for that. Through, when you first started, you obviously had certain band members that you vibed with in the beginning,
Right.
and then obviously through life, like we were
Right,
talking about, like
right.
shit just happens, and so how does that affect you as the lead singer of the band? How does that affect the band as a whole when things like that happen? And what helps you be able to keep going and move forward, like you're talking about?
To answer that, we've had bandmates that came and left due to drugs, finances, their personal things they're going through with their partner.
Right.
And as well that I have done that throughout the years, had a partner, have had partners and what have you. And it's hard trying to concentrate when you have all these things going on, not only in your head, but your bandmates' head. So what I try to do is once in a while, I'll pull everyone together and say, hey, let's do this, give everybody a little boost.
Right.
And it does affect the band when somebody leaves, because as you know, some gigs do prepay you, or you're booking shows already, and you got to teach somebody else the guitar, the bass. So it sets everybody back a lot.
Yeah.
But what do you expect? I mean, nothing in business is perfect. So with that said, the thing that just kept me going is just Chris, I got something inside of me, and I need to let it out, and that's my drive, man. I love what I do, and it's nothing illegal. We don't sell drugs. We're not doing anything like that. We're just pointing out flaws in the system, throwing a couple of cool songs in there that I've done for my cousin Maya, Cancer, about the women that were raped by the San Diego Police Department. We've done some songs, but even with all that, you need to maintain focus and discipline, because a lot of bands just it's all about just getting drunk, and and to us it's not about that. It's about the message.
Nice. So let's talk about a couple of things there, because like you said something about earlier about letting it out, right? and then you started to say, but it's also about maintaining discipline. Let's talk a little bit about when things kind of got a little out of control, right? Because I mean, obviously with the kind of music that you have, I mean, it gets people moving. Like I've seen your videos, I've listened to your music, and I love it, right? And I know when I'm starting to sit there and listening to it, I'm like, right. So tell me about when things got what was the wildest gig that you've experienced, where things kind of got a little bit too much?
When we first started playing, we went up to Hollywood a couple of times, and we were playing at a place called Loaded, and we were getting loaded, and that was one of the things that just you can't, in my opinion, you can't really have a band that's 100% unless you're 100%. There is Dave Mustaine and all these badasses that are just partiers, but then again, there's that drive that they have in them. I mean, a lot of us are musicians, or people have a bad walk, and it's just our only way for our outlet is to express that, instead of not being able to play. As you know, this COVID thing, we've been tied down. So I've been kind of pacing up and down, my room, writing more, just getting it out. But I try to exercise, I walk my dog, I try to keep positive. I talk to my dad and my daughter more than usual, but at the same time, it gives me more time to regroup myself and rethink what I'm doing. So, my dad says, hustle while you wait.
So you really don't want to talk about the wild stuff.
On camera.
Right. Well, I think, one of the things that I think it's really important to point out, and what I really like about the way that you turned that question is, hey, look, we've all been through certain things in our life, and we've all been experience things that we may not necessarily feel like was the best move or something that was in our highest good. So I really like the way that you put a positive spin on that question.
Thanks.
And so I'm gonna go ahead and let you slide on that one. All right, so next question, like, what projects do you have going on now, and what do you see about STEELTOE? Like what do you see in the future for STEELTOE?
Right now, we've been practicing just for the last couple of weeks at the studio we have in Bonita, Chula Vista area, and right now we're doing a day with STEELTOE, and
Nice.
we just picked a gentleman that's a fan of ours, and he goes around San Diego and he promotes everybody. He's a very cool guy. So hopefully, like in the next 2 weeks, we're gonna have a day with STEELTOE. Kind of surprise him and stuff
Right,
like that. And
right.
we can't tell what we're gonna do to him, but he's gonna have a good time. And then also, I'm trying to get the drive-ins right now
Right.
to do a show for the movie theaters and stuff.
Okay.
To have like a couple of bands play before the movie theaters.
Right.
Maybe charge a few extra bucks and give the money to the people who are helping our community right now,
Nice.
especially the people in the medical field. So
Right.
we're trying to do a gig like that right now.
To kind of raise some funds
Right,
to
some
help
funds.
out with the whole thing that's going on.
Yeah.
So that's pretty amazing, because there's a lot of bands out there that really think when they're doing something like that, they're not necessarily, and I'm not saying that there aren't bands that are like that as well,
Right.
but I think there are a lot of bands. So for you to be thinking in that way right now, it's impressive, man. I got to commend you for that, because there's I do know some other people that play, and during this whole COVID thing, like, they're not thinking that way right now. So I really got to give you mad props for that.
Thank you.
Looking out for the community,
Thank
and
you.
I think that's
Thank
one
you.
thing that's definitely
Well,
commendable for
another
that.
thing, if I may, is
Mhm.
the band didn't get started to make money.
Right.
We didn't get started for people to like us. I didn't start that. I'm not writing things for people to like me.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm just a person that's giving you what I see,
Mhm.
putting a beat to it with my comrades, and hopefully putting a beautiful package,
Right.
and somebody can enjoy it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But definitely we're not in it for the money, although it helps.
Right. Right.
But I've had my guys from STEELTOE grab brooms and go to downtown San Diego and sweep.
Nice.
We're a hands-on band.
Nice. Yeah, and I think that's, and just for the people who don't know you guys, I mean, you guys have already experienced quite a bit of success so far. I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, like, you've played on 91X, you've done multiple shows with Pato Bonton, and so I mean, like,
Yeah, we've done played with Doyle from the Misfits, with DRI, Sprung Monkey, Green Jelly,
Right.
a lot of great bands, and to me that's it's my honor.
Right.
Who would have thought a band we used to listen to in high
Right,
school,
right.
and here we're on stage with them.
right,
So
right.
it feels great, man.
So yeah, I just want to point that out, because I mean that really speaks volumes. That because earlier you said yes, it's not about the money, and that's
Right.
and obviously I love the fact that you didn't start the band and say like, oh hey, we're gonna go out there and just
Right,
load
right.
up on cash.
Right.
But I think that I really want to point out to the audience with that is that it was the messages that you're sending out in your videos and in your music that is definitely resonating with people. And for those of you who haven't listened to STEELTOE, we're definitely going to be putting a bunch of links in the description below, so please check that out. Okay, so we're going to put some videos here and a bunch of other stuff for you guys, and kind of we'll keep you updated on any like things that are coming up with the drive-ins and things like that as well. So let's get a little bit more personal with you a little bit. Can you share with us, like, what is your songwriting process? Like, what gets those wheels turning? Like,
The process, there is variables on the process. I can have one of the guitar player come up, hey, I got this lick, and he sends me the link. I get it in my head, and whatever that energy vibes me to, I kind of try to funk to it, Or if my bass player comes with, hey, I got this, I'll just feel it out, and the subject will somehow manifest itself.
Now, one of the things that I wanted to kind of talk about, this is something that you and I discussed a few days ago, and you had mentioned that, the process is kind of starting to change a little bit within you. Can you kind of share a little bit about, like, what are those changes that are happening within you, and like, how are those going to affect the type of messages that you put in your music moving forward?
When I started the band a few years ago, I was real aggressive. I was hungry to get out there. I was starving. It felt good. I got a little older, a little tired. um, but I think my music writing became a little bit more mature.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to be more eclectic with what I write and how I deliver it.
Nice.
Because we're just known to,
Right.
a 1-2 punch.
Right.
But I try to throw sprinkles on it.
Mm-hmm.
And, because like I said, there is music that's very mellow, it's very personal.
Right. Right.
And it's very deep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like the one that I used, 316.
Right,
Right.
316.
Yeah, that was pretty deep.
Yeah,
man.
that's about being stuck in a hotel room. Just
Right.
not good. But
Right.
the process itself has pretty much been the same. It's just how I'm gonna deliver it.
Right.
Because it's how you say it.
Right. And I think one of the things that I also kind of want to mention is, when we were talking the other day about, like I was mentioning to you how I was able to journal a lot to get stuff out of my head. And I thought it was like, I never looked at your songwriting as a way, and when you mentioned that to me, I thought that was so awesome. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, Chris, a couple of days ago, you were asking me about things like that.
Right.
Hey, I'd like to write this down.
Right.
Do you do that? And I
Right.
said, well, that's what I do with my music.
Right, right.
Any thought I have, good or bad, anything I doubt,
Right.
something I question,
Mhm.
I usually write it down. I have notes under my bed, just
Right.
everywhere. And sometimes you read them and you're like, what the hell am I thinking?
Right.
But that's, it's good to read
Right.
what you write later
Right.
because
Right.
you tend to be like, wow, this is what I was thinking back then, because we just continuously
Mhm.
think and we don't stop thinking. But when you stop and actually put it on paper
Right.
and you come back and you analyze it,
Right.
then you can concentrate what you're really thinking. Because
Right.
you're like, wow, I really said this, or I
Right.
was really feeling this,
Right. Right.
And a lot of people right now with technology and text messages, I think they're overdoing that with
Right.
sharing too much information
I
and
agree.
blah blah blah. That's another song, another time.
Right.
But I think it's good for a man or a woman just
Right.
to write down notes. I think is very good for them.
Awesome. Right on, man. All right, so your band is known for your upfront lyrics. We'll put it
Right. Lightly.
because there's definitely like some pretty strong messages in some of your songs.
Yeah.
Just to mention a few, like the whole thing about like Guerrero, right?
Yeah.
Your song about Trump. So like, what's going on in our community right now, and what do you see now with this whole COVID-19 thing going on? Like, what is your opinion on that? Like, tell us like what you feel.
My core on that, number one, the masses are asses. Nowadays, a lot of us have instant gratification due to the conditioning through contingencies of the phones we're using. We just want it here and now, and that's not a good way to start thinking about what's going on. You got to get your head out of your phone.
Right. Right.
And start looking around, basic observation. Start reading history.
Right.
You don't know where you're going unless you know where you come from.
Right.
What I think is going on, I think it's the deep state. I think, like they say, in order for there to be a new order, they have to disrupt the one that's there.
Right.
Look what happened with the 9/11. We already
Right.
forgot about that.
Right.
And all these things, and it's just a continuous facade.
Right.
Who knows what the real objective is? A lot of people have different opinions on what happened. We're barely finding out that the gentleman who was killed, the black gentleman that was killed on the police, they were both friends, and no one's really bringing that up. So,
Right.
we're never going to know the truth on a lot of situations that are going on. There's a thing called controlled opposition.
Right.
So if your guidelines to ask questions, then you can't really know what's going on because you're restricted to ask certain questions.
Right.
So I don't know what's going on,
Right.
to be honest with you, but I have a bad feeling that it's going to get worse. Like
Okay.
something else is going to happen
Right.
because
Right.
of the history and how
Right.
easy people are manipulated.
Right. So I think the message that we're really trying to get across to you right now is, with like Temo said just a second ago, is like you can't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. And one of my favorite sayings is like it's very easy to connect the dots looking backwards. So one of the things that I'm really going to encourage all of you to do out there is don't believe everything that you hear on the news. Do your own research, okay? one of the things for me is like when the whole COVID-19 thing came out, and I was like, okay, so rather than just paying attention, oh, we have this scary virus that's killing people. Okay, but okay, so how many people is it really killing? Right. So I did my own research, and the research that I found was that like 80% of the people that contract it aren't showing, any, if any signs, very little signs, right? And so also found out that 18% of the people that contracted are the ones that are showing more severe signs of the virus, and that only 2% of the people that are dying, and those people are people that already have an underlying health issues.
Right.
And I'm not saying that all of them, but the majority of that 2%.
Right.
And so for me, that took a lot of fear away from what is actually happening, because like, you heard of like so many people dying here and so many people dying here, and it's like this and that. And I'm not gonna lie, like when I first heard it, I was like, holy shit, like what the fuck's going on, right? And but yet, rather than allowing that herd mentality and being like allowed to be like herded into the fear, right? I actually started to do my own research. So I think that's kind of what the message that you were saying with the looking back in history.
Right.
Yeah.
You gotta, nothing happens coincidence in the government.
Right.
Roosevelt said that.
Right.
And the message that we try to convey in the band is, no matter what's happening, regroup, use your head, common sense, basic observations, go back to basics.
Right.
Teach your kids how to survive in nature, how to feel the vibe, how you got these kids that are so lost right now.
Right.
If you take a phone away, if the TV's off for 2 days, internet goes off for a week, people just wouldn't know. But we've nothing happened before when we didn't have none of that. So it's just a mental thing,
Right.
But with that said, in regards to the band, it's always going to be a hurdle, just like in life. The band, there's going to be obstacles, but if you're strong, you're going to survive.
Right.
And if you're not, and if you decide to hide under a couch, I'm here at the house, but I'm exercising. I'm trying to get stronger somehow.
Maintaining that positive mental attitude throughout the whole situation.
Forward we go.
Right. All right, we're gonna switch it up a little bit here.
Okay.
Get even more deeper into who you are.
Okay.
Do you believe in God?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
I was in a dark place, and I came to the realization that I'm not as bad as I think I am, and God gives me everything, in my walk.
Right.
That's why I started the band. It's not for me. I'm doing it because I see the unjust and it hurts me. It hurts me what I see. So I gotta say something.
Right.
I feel like a coward if I just get a job and pretend nothing was happening.
Right.
Like 99% of people.
Right.
Do I believe in God? Definitely. I would not be here, my friend, if it wasn't for God. And and I try to put those pillars in my daughter.
Okay. Would you mind sharing that with us a little bit? I mean, if it's not too personal, because I know on my walk, I've always like growing up, like, my parents believed in God, and so it was something for me, that my mom was like always like, hey, look, God is prevalent, right? But yet at one point, I definitely lost that
started
faith.
Doubting and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Or felt that like it was all me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think it was more so that I was like, oh, I got this. Like I don't need, right? And yet through that darkness, I realized that there is something greater than us.
I was once told before I accepted God, if you don't believe in God, that's okay because He believes in you.
Nice.
And that's, to me,
nice.
meant a lot.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
If people right now that are feeling alone at the house, you're never alone.
Right.
You're never alone. It's all in here.
Right.
You are never alone.
Right.
I've had relationships where like I feel I'm alone.
Right.
But it's just a time thing, for a little while, but it hurts, but we're gonna be okay.
Right.
The most important thing I gotta tell people out there is just keep positive.
Right.
There's people that go to prison, there's people that lose hands, fingers and legs,
Their homes,
homes,
right.
everything. It's like, keep positive and you will be okay.
Right. And that's, I definitely want to kind of piggyback on that, what you're saying there, because when I was going through my deepest, darkest, situations, one of the things that I really just said, okay, look, I have a choice, either to continue to think in the way that I am now and continue to have that cycle just back and forth of just that darkness,
Right.
or you know, I can look around me right now. Like for example, like right now in this very second, we don't have any problems right this second.
Right.
So for me, it was like, so what's preventing me from being happy right now? And so I started to make that choice, you know, and it was went off by something very simply like, so how do I start to change that? And what I did is I told people like, hey, look, when people would ask me, how are you doing, Chris? I'm fucking phenomenal.
Right.
And even though in the beginning that wasn't really how I was feeling, I wanted to change my story, right? So but now when people ask me, I'm like, look, dude, like even through this whole, you know, pandemic that's going on, I'm down here, miles from home, visiting friends I haven't seen in over 30 years, and I'm still enjoying life. Why? Because I'm keeping that positive mental attitude and not allowing the system to force me to feel that fear, force me to feel that anger, force me to feel that hate.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, and yes, through God, because I believe in God as well, and I think through that, starting to believe in that higher power, that there is something greater than ourselves, has definitely pulled me out of that darkness as well. Yeah. What would you say your biggest success in life so far is, like, for you personally?
In life is having a healthy granddaughter right now, brother.
Nice. Nice.
That little girl just,
Changes
brings
the
me a
perspective.
smile, man. I could be thinking about some way off the wall cuff
Right.
that's happening, or something that I'm making it bigger in my mind. But
Right.
when I reach out to my daughter, Ilura, my granddaughter, Citlali, everything changes. You know,
Right.
they say we judge people by the way they treat their kids,
Right,
their family
right,
members.
right.
you know.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
I think that would be my biggest success is
Nice.
so far as to having a healthy daughter and a granddaughter.
Right. Now, I want to kind of ask you a little bit more about that, right? Because, like, as a parent myself, I know that when my oldest daughter was born, my perspective changed completely. Like, I remember one time I was sitting there watching something on TV that I would normally have watched by myself,
right.
but yet now I've got my daughter in my hands and I'm watching them like,
Right.
how can they play this crap on TV? You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm changing the channel right away, right?
Absolutely.
So, and I'm sure you've experienced that same thing when you had your daughter. Can you talk about, is it a whole nother level when you have a granddaughter? Is like how does that?
Well, they say grandparents get more attached to their grandkids because they recognize the mistakes they've made with their kids. And I kind of see that in a way.
Okay. So it is a whole nother level.
It's a different chapter.
Yeah.
It gets
awesome,
deeper,
man.
but it gets easier at the same time.
Right. Because now you can kind of, again, connect the dots going backwards and realize how to improve on.
Going forward, keep connecting.
Right. All right. So just to kind of end this off, is there any advice or shout outs for our viewers? Like,
I want to thank you, first of all.
Right on.
my good
Thank
friend,
you, man. I
for
appreciate
doing
you,
this
bro.
here
That's
at the
awesome.
house.
It's
You
a
came down
privilege.
here. Thank you, and I want to thank the guys from the band, from the first guy that was with me to the last guys that are all here right now.
Right.
The current bands is Chris Red, Todd Woolsey, Fernando, and myself. And for any bands that are out there, just keep going forward. If people don't like your music or not, it's not about that.
Right.
Just get it out, get it out, be happy. You're not doing nothing wrong. Be positive, and just keep grinding at it. And by all means, have fun. Have fun,
Right.
And advice for the public,
Right there.
love is number one. Number one is love. Coming from a guy like me, but absolutely, without love, I probably wouldn't be here, man.
Awesome,
and it's the little things when you reach out to people, just the slightest things that can change their whole day or something like that.
Absolutely.
So I'm encouraging people, the times right now, to reach out to people that you hardly talk to, and just a little what's up. Even if somebody you don't like that much, hey, what's up? Right now, there's a lot of people are frustrated, and there's a lot of domestic violences. There's a lot of things because we're all cooped up. Let's all understand that
love is the way.
Love is the way, absolutely, and let's be more patient with one another right now. But by all means, stay conscious of what's going on.
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much for your time,
once
man.
again. Thank
All
you guys.
Thank you guys. All right, so I hope that you enjoyed that video, that interview. Man, I can't tell you thank you so much. It's a privilege to be able to be here at your home, and you opening up your house for me to be able to come do this interview. Don't forget to smash that thumbs up button. And again, go ahead and the subscribe button if you haven't already. It would really mean a lot to me. Also, we're going to put some links to the STEELTOE Music YouTube channel in there. So please go ahead and go over there, subscribe to his channel, like his videos. And aside from that, I love you all. You guys have a great day. Namaste.
Peace.
Peace.
Let me open your mind to the unthinkable, incredible in the wake of a bomb.